Aloha mai kako, a komo mai to Curtain Call, a weekly program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and or with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. I'm coming to you from my home studio. Because of the election, Akaku Studio is not available. Baldwin Performing Arts Learning Center and Baldwin Theater Guild, with sponsorship by Wave of Harmony Foundation, are presenting William Gibson's multi-Tony and Academy Award-winning play, The Miracle Worker, at Loudon Mini Theater on the campus of Baldwin High School, directed by Linda Carnevale. The play won 4 Tony Awards in 1959 when it was first produced: Best Play, Best Director Arthur Penn, Best Actress Anne Bancroft, and Best Stage Technician. The subject of the play is very well known. Helen Keller and her teacher Annie Sullivan were internationally renowned. Helen, with Annie's help, became among the first fully functioning deaf-blind persons and went on to write, lecture, and speak in behalf of people with disabilities until her death in 1968. Based on Helen Keller's autobiography, Mr. Gibson's treatment focuses on her family's inability to cope with their blind and deaf daughter, Helen, Evangelina Villa, and their desperation to avoid sending her away. They hire a teacher who is herself visually impaired, Annie Sullivan, Miley Libinati, the valedictorian of Perkins School for the Blind, to civilize their wild child. This was a challenge like climbing Mount Everest barefoot without equipment would be. Annie, who is haunted by her own demons, she has flashbacks about the death of her brother at the Perkins School, dives into these unknown waters, compelled to succeed no matter what it takes. Along the way, she is stretched to her limits and she begins to doubt herself until she discovers a place where she and Helen can be alone and she can concentrate on trying to bring language to a deaf and blind child. Given only 2 weeks to accomplish this Herculean task, it seems only a miracle would achieve any results. Miley Libinati as Annie Sullivan owns this role. She is proud of her achievements, skeptical of her skills, trepidatious about her future, and determined to succeed. Ms. Libinati's Annie is forceful, emotionally truthful, and physically involved. This part is one of the greatest and most difficult roles ever written for a woman. The strength it requires would tax Superman, not only the physical strength to fend off Helen's constant abusive touching, grabbing, and probing, but the emotional and intellectual strength to see this task through to success. Ms. Libinati has it all. She is connected truthfully every moment she is on stage. Hers is a performance that pulls one into everything she says and does. She dominates this play in the best possible way, and I loved her a cappella version of Hush, Little Baby. The task that Ms. Libinati had and completed was enough for any play. But then there was the other star of this show. Evangelina Villa's Helen, Ms. Villa, not only had to play a child, but a deaf and blind child. If Ms. Libinati's challenge was Everestian, then Ms. Villa's was like surviving a naked walk in space. Hers is a performance with no lines. It is entirely realized through physicalization. Where Annie has more lines than Shakespeare, Ms. Villa's Helen only has to convince the audience she's 10 years younger than she actually is, blind and deaf, and she accomplishes this with truth, presence, and tremendous work. She is in motion almost every moment she is on stage, grasping, probing, and reaching. Her scenes, when she and Annie were alone, were like watching a wrestling match. They were so physical. Few plays require an actor to have so much physical contact with other actors, and Ms. Villa seemed to be completely unaware of how her actions were affecting everyone around her. Hers is a Helen yearning to be found, a brilliant performance. As her mother, Kate Keller, Sophia Dallara, finds the love and caring of this character without becoming despondent or losing faith and hope in Annie. Her delivery was clear and convincing. She connected in all of her scenes, and she maintained the level of truth achieved by the other actors. Capono Goring's Captain Keller was endearing when we first meet him, and then he lives up to his office. He is commanding and angry most of the time until we see his soft side in the final act. As Helen's stepbrother, James, Michael Berrigan demonstrated his disdain for his stepsister and his jealousy of her as well. He is employed regularly by the playwright to perform menial tasks for Annie, his family, and Helen. He portrays the proper attitude for each circumstance very nicely. The maid, Viney, Isaiah Ramos Carroll, is another standout in this cast. She is the Kellers' housemaid and servant, and she displays the proper servile deportment. But there is also a spark of defiance that seeps in every now and then. The rest of the cast did very good work, especially the dog, Bristol, Lynn Bear's therapy dog, which was recommended by Maui Therapy Dogs. The dog was adorable. Ms. Carnevale brought in a top-notch technical design mentor group, headed by Carol Walker set design, Amy Lord on light mentoring, and Dawn Harper on sound design and mentoring, and her teacher and mentor, and the theater's namesake, Ms. Sue Ann Loudon, did a great job on the costume design. Ms. Walker's set announced to the audience this was a serious production. It was another perfect use of the space by our most experienced and accomplished set designer. The multi-levels and areas she created gave the actors the locations they needed and let the audience go on the journey. Ms. Walker's set was instrumental in the lighting design by providing Ms. Lord with a script of what areas would need to be lighted and when. The lighting design focused on areas to create the appropriate environment. Her use of red lighting to highlight those flashback moments for Annie were instrumental, emphasizing these moments for Annie as well as the audience. Ms. Carnevale informs the audience in her director's notes, quote, "I have always loved this play," unquote. It shows. Even though this play takes place nearly 2 centuries ago, it feels universal and timeless. She has successfully brought these young people to a level where such an important message is conveyed clearly and cogently, so the audience can jump on the roller coaster and have some thrills. And as she says in her closing director's notes, quote, "We all know love is the ultimate key," unquote. Bravissimo. You'll only have 3 more chances to catch this exceptional show, Friday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and 3 p.m. on Sunday at the Loudon Mini Theater on the campus of Baldwin High School in Wailuku. Don't miss it. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Mahalo nui loa for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Maui strong. Ahui ho.